All right, and we're live with the Post Status Happiness Hour. Here it is Wednesday, March 19th, 4 p.m. on the eastern coast of, I was going to say New York, of the United States, because we are actually both on the East Coast as well. And my guest today is Jen Harries from Easy Accessibility Guide. Do you say Ally Guide or Accessibility Guide?
I say Ally Guide.
Okay. I've heard both, like people say both ways, so I wasn't sure how you say it. So Easy Ally Guide, which is actually easier to say than the whole word accessibility, which is probably why that nomenclature exists to begin with.
That really is why, yes.
It's good to have you here, Jen. Why don't you give us a quick introduction to who you are and, where you are and what you do and, all those good things.
Yeah. So I'm Jen Harries. I am in the United States, in Maryland, a little bit outside of Baltimore and DC. I generally avoid the cities because parking in cities is a nightmare. So
yeah, for sure.
Parking in Rochester generally isn't too bad, given that Rochester is less of a big city.
True, but even that has its challenges now and then. It depends. Usually you can find a parking place, but you must pay for it. So
yeah,
okay.
That's the hard part. Unless there's a Wegmans nearby.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So you have a company called Easy Ally Guide, and what do you do there?
So I help agencies with accessibility. I've found in my own work with accessibility, it was both wide and deep. So there was just so much to learn when I got started. Fortunately, my background is as a developer. My degree is computer science. So I have a lot of experience with rabbit holes and going down rabbit holes. Yep. I used to work at Boeing on some government projects, and they literally handed me 45-page government specification documents and said, good luck with that situation.
Whoops.
And at one point, I literally had to distill all of that down into specific requirements, and then I had to actually build things to that. So I have a lot of experience with, here's a pile of information, good luck.
Yeah.
So that has helped me a lot with so many things when it comes to WordPress.
Yeah, because, I can imagine.
Even the WordPress developer docs, they have improved a lot over the years. I will absolutely give them a lot of credit for that. But when I first started, those things were just good luck.
Right?
And for example, Mozilla has some amazing developer docs. Unfortunately, you probably need a college degree to read most of them.
That's not helpful.
And I'm not talking a college English degree. I mean like a technical degree. So if you have various different engineering backgrounds or whatnot, then you've dealt with a lot of that kind of documentation before. But for so many people who don't have that background, they look at those documents and they're just like, I am completely and totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then I got into, of course, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, which are maintained by W3C. And I have read PhD papers which were less intimidating than some of those documents.
Yeah.
They are really up there on the reading level. So I kept looking around and I could make it through a lot of this stuff. But when I talked to other people, they were like, I am so far over my head, I don't even know which direction is up anymore.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, okay, so we really need to start breaking a lot of this stuff down into digestible things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, how much of a website work gets done by a virtual assistant, for example? They need something that they can, a set of instructions that they can follow and they can put content in. They need a set of a checklist that they can follow to go, okay, did I do it right? Okay, I checked all the boxes. All right, publish.
Yeah, exactly.
But we need things that like regular people can handle and deal with.
Mhm.
And so that's a lot of what I try and do is get this stuff distilled down into simpler. One
Yeah.
of the recent challenges I had was someone asked me to explain the difference between legal compliance and WCAG conformance, because you've heard it, everyone's confused by that. And
Yes,
they asked,
absolutely.
so they'd heard 101 different explanations, and they're like, can you explain it to me like I'm 5 years old?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to think about that. So I walk the dog, and I do most of my good thinking when I walk the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up with a jar of marbles.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think about a business, there's lots of different parts to it. There's that one company called 17 Hats to represent all the different hats that a business owner wears.
Yeah.
And you can kind of think of those as a whole bunch of marbles inside a jar, because a business has employees and a website and social and direct email and their finances and how they treat customers and their actual physical building and who cleans it and takes out the trash and all of the little bits and pieces within their business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to a whole business, there's a whole set of laws. Many different laws apply to their business, state, local, federal, all sorts of different things. There's the tax laws, and they've got so many bits of compliance that the entire business has to follow.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're talking to them, we're generally just talking about their website, maybe their transactional email, their marketing email, but we're only talking about a couple parts. The reality is, like, we're dealing with a couple marbles in that whole jar. So that
Right.
whole jar is the business's compliance. And we can't really say anything about the whole jar because we only have a couple of the marbles that are actually we even know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know about most of the rest of the marbles in there. So we can take out, our marble and we can look at it and we can say, oh, good, it's green. It's supposed to be green. It has, these properties about it. We can look into those and we can make some really good statements about this one marble.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of all the statements about this one marble, we still know nothing about the whole jar.
Right.
So the whole jar is the business compliance. And the conformance to WCAG is just measuring that one marble.
Okay. So
that has been going over well.
Yeah, that makes it much more understandable for sure. Yeah, makes it a lot more understandable. So when we talk about accessibility, like when I talk about building accessibility to my own website, I've already bought into what accessibility is. Yes. I already understand that I should have a more accessible website for a number of reasons, right? First and foremost should be that more people can access and use my website. But there's also SEO purposes, right? It aids in SEO. There's also conforming, like you said, there's laws that are required in different places of the world. And so there's lots of different reasons that accessibility is important to me. As somebody who builds websites for other people, sometimes the challenge is making that person or that business understand why accessibility is important, why we need to do it, and why it costs money to do those things. It's not just free for somebody to go, hey, I'm just going to come real quick, make your website accessible, right? So what do you tell people? And what I mean, I'm absolutely leading you up to and like teeing you, putting the ball on the tee so you can hit it right off into the fairway. I'm not a golfer. I'm making stuff up as I go. But how do you help agencies and even an agency of one versus even an agency of 100 people? How do you help them be able to sell accessibility to their customers?
So the first thing I like to do is I like to not mention accessibility to clients. I
Okay.
don't start with it because it's a confusing legal thing, and we don't need to start clients with confusing legal stuff. I like to start clients with, okay, you want a website. Why do you want a website? Is it a vanity project, or is it so that you can connect with people you don't know?
Mm. Yeah,
Which,
for sure.
which one is it? Now, I mean, if it's truly nothing but a vanity project, then we're off in the land of a vanity project, and that's where we're going. But
Yeah.
the vast majority say it's so that they can connect with people they don't know.
Right.
Okay, great. So you're dealing with a whole lot of people and you really don't know much about them. Do you know where they physically are? Are they at home? Could they be out on walks? Could they be out at transit? Could they be sitting in waiting rooms at appointments? Could they be in a cafe? You don't know where they are, right?
No, of course not. Yeah.
So the first thing is we don't know where people are at when they come across our website. So I like to start people with just starting with some really basic questions right off the bat. Like, do you want commuters to be able to use your website? I'm here in, kind of the general metro area between Baltimore and DC. So there's a lot of commuters. They probably drive or possibly walk to a metro area, and then they commute. Okay, you basically have a captive audience for somewhere between 10, 20 plus minutes. They're gonna, it's easy to keep them where they're at. It's also easy to lose them. So the first question I like to hit is, do you want commuters to be able to use your website?
Okay. And of course they say yes.
Of course they say yes. So this means that we're dealing with a phone and or a tablet. It also means that we have varying levels of internet connection stability.
True.
This might not be a fast internet connection. The next thing is we have varying light levels. Like when you're on a commuter train, the cloud could appear, the cloud could disappear. It could be bright, sunny daylight, and you're like, wow, I can barely read anything on this phone. Or it could be dark and at night. So you've got very unknown light levels. So contrast and really clear text and really being able to see what the heck is a link and a button and where I'm supposed to actually be clicking is really important. Like I've been to some websites and I'm like, okay, every heading on this website is link blue, but none of, oh, wait, this one clicks. What?
If it's blue, it should click. If it does,
Exactly. Yeah. So just trying to be easy to use. Then I bring up, okay, so we don't know where these people are. Do we know how they are? Not really. Do we know if they are having a bad allergy day?
Right.
If they have a screaming toddler on their hip?
If they fell and broke their arm last week?
if their if their carpal tunnel is acting up and they have their wrist in a splint.
Sure.
We don't know how they are. So we want to try and make sure that this is easy to use. So we want to have like big tap targets because that's great for both the phone, especially if you're on like a moving metro. You're like, okay.
Well, sure, yeah.
Click. And the other one is, you, I have a friend with carpal tunnel. I'm sure you know people with carpal tunnel.
Sure.
Sometimes his hand is in a brace and he's still attempting to use a mouse. And the targeting on this mouse is less than ideal.
Right. And let's not forget the fact that like when I'm using my phone, my finger is not pinpoint perfect. So I'm using, and I don't have like terribly large fingertips, and yet it's still hard to, and sometimes I'm having to pinch open just to be able to click a link. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So I start by trying to engage clients and get them talking, get them thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not dealing with a perfect person. They're probably not having a perfect day, and they're also probably not in a perfect situation.
True.
So I'm either going to reach them where they happen to be, or I'm going to lose them.
Yeah.
And so I usually start from this angle and deal with, talking about real people, people that are
Mm-hmm.
strangers, people that we don't know, what
Mm-hmm.
kinds of situations they're in, because that makes them, a lot of clients think, oh yeah, oh, there
Mm-hmm.
was that time I was so frustrated with that site. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, there was that app, I couldn't figure out how to get that stupid thing to work, and I just got rid of it. So
So you
you start.
mean accessibility is not just for blind people and people with low vision? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So I really try to tie it into goals, and then I like to actually write out these people and situations as specific goals. So
Mm-hmm.
now they have something in front of them that they're agreeing to. And they also understand how we got there, how we
Mm-hmm.
got to this person that they're agreeing to. And now I'll frequently even encourage them to name these people so that they
Mm-hmm.
start to actually get a connection. Or, do they have a friend or relative who's like this? And we put their
Right.
name right on it to try
Mm-hmm.
and really get a connection to, so it's no longer just random strangers. It's now,
Right.
someone we actually are starting to get emotionally committed to.
Mm-hmm. Cousin Carl and grandma
Exactly.
and whoever. Yeah.
So once we get there, then I bring in, so there's some great news. We have these industry standards called WCAG.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need to make a lot of sense to you because you don't understand the details of HTML or CSS, but you've probably heard those words before.
Of course.
Those are standards maintained by the same organization. It's a big international organization. They maintain a whole bunch of standards. So we're just going to add in these really user standards with those when we do builds. And
Mm-hmm.
so we get sign off on who we're actually talking to, who we're connecting with. And
Mm-hmm.
then we get sign off on, that we're going to follow these standards. And then that helps you down the line if they want to push back because, so you don't want cousin Carl to be able to use the website?
Right.
You're pushing back on this, and this is how we were making sure that cousin Carl could use the website.
Right.
So now
Mm-hmm.
you don't want him to?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, no, wait, we do. So
Right. Exactly.
when you start tying it into something like that, I find that there's just so much less resistance because
Mm-hmm.
they see why.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And so you have created tools
Yes.
to help agencies be able to sell accessibility to
Mhm.
their customers. So
Exactly.
should I bring that up? Should I bring that up on the screen now? Are you ready to show that?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so let me add that, and I'm going to take the logo off so we can see your whole screen. Okay, go for it.
So what I've got going on, because when I've talked to a lot of agencies, they're like, yes, I want to do accessibility, but it's not an urgent need because I haven't sold it to anyone yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked them, well, why haven't you sold it? Well, because I don't know how to sell it. I guess I need more information. I guess I need something, but I'm not quite sure what I need.
Yeah.
So after chatting with several of them, they suggested that I put together a 5-day challenge. They're like, can you maybe put it into a sprint so I can do it?
That makes sense. Yeah.
So basically this involves the things I've already been using with other clients. And, I've got one of the testimonials here. They came to me because they had an incoming lead with no specific budget who needed accessibility. This one happened to be tied to a local government.
Okay.
So it was a small local government in the US that falls under ADA Title II, which means WCAG 2.1 level AA. You don't have to understand all of that. It basically means there's a specific set of standards that they have to follow.
Okay.
But the organization didn't have any budget specified. They weren't sure. And so we got them talking, and before we went into the call, we discussed, what are the agency's goals? And so it was either to sell a starting package or to sell a monthly retainer. Those were the two goals that the agency had. They wanted to sell one of those two because that would make sense for them.
Sure.
So we went in and we talked to the organization and, well, what do you need to see from your investment? And they said, well, we needed to see some kind of improvement each month in order to justify the spend. So the monthly retainer was going to be the direction we wanted to go. So that way they can get a report each month saying, look, we made these changes. So they had something to show for the money. And so we worked through it, got through the call. They were happy, and we got through and got the contract.
Nice.
But I mean, they originally came to me and they didn't know. They were like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with this.
Right.
Like,
so
it's
you
an
have
incoming lead.
So you have this 5-day challenge.
Yes, which sell your first accessibility package. Or if you've already sold one, you can sell more of them.
That's right. It gives you some tools, right? So you have a better understanding of how to make that happen.
So the first day on Monday, we will start by learning how to qualify people. And so we're going to go through a simple qualification system. And this is a system that, I mean, I've had several virtual assistants learn this in 10 minutes flat. It's not complicated. This is no fancy tools needed.
Nice.
So it's just, we just get two numerical scores, and then we just look those up in a table, and that's the answers.
Nice.
So we do the quick scoring, and then we'll know, okay, what's going on with this client? How good, bad, or ugly is the website currently? And then how much risk does this organization have?
Okay.
So then you can put those two together to understand the picture of accessibility for them. Are we dealing with high risk and a poor score? In which case, okay, we really want to get on this. Or are we dealing with a good score and low risk? In which case, we're probably going to move on to the next one.
Gotcha.
And then we get into the specific goals and really going through the questions and the conversation and the follow-up questions with clients, because questions are so powerful for connecting with people.
Absolutely.
So we go through that and we get specific targets then set up for what we want to sell to these people. And start putting together the plan of which client's going to get what approach. And then we get into the actual, what's going to go into an outreach email, if we're outreaching to existing clients, or what we're going to put into a reply email for if we have an incoming lead, what are we going to send them? And so I've got actual emails that I've sent to people that have converted.
Nice.
And then we're going to put together kind of the basic line items related to accessibility for the quote, because I'm not going to give you the entire quote because I don't know what other service bundle you're going to tie this in with. There's so many different services that people can be offering in addition. So I just get some of the specifics related to accessibility and also how to price out your first accessibility thing,
Yeah.
because a lot of them are like, I've avoided even quoting it because I don't even know what to write in this. Like,
yeah. Because it
so I go
depends on how
through.
much time it might take, and it depends on your level of ability and the needs. Yeah, I can imagine.
Mhm. So I go into a few different pricing options to include the extra costs into your quote
Nice.
and what those costs are and how to estimate them.
Yeah.
And
Is it
then, yeah, go ahead.
is it easier to build it into a new build than to try to go to somebody who's already got their website and convince them that they need some more work to make it accessible?
It really depends on the customer.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I have one customer and we've been doing a bit of work on their site because it kind of finally came to a head that they've just been having more glitches and more issues because it was a custom theme that I inherited from another developer. And I've been working on it, cleaning sections out of it over time, but we finally hit the point. They were like, okay, we're going to give you the budget. Just go fix this thing. Fix it. Finally, make it less painful.
Yeah, exactly.
So as part of that, we're also improving the accessibility on it because we have the go ahead to do that. But a lot of times that's kind of what it is there's some sort of pain point. So it could be that conversions aren't going well on a site. So you may tie in accessibility with a conversion optimization because those frequently go hand in hand. Okay. I remember Equalize Digital had done a conversion optimization on their process for their free downloads. Okay. And they had found a huge return on that conversion optimization. And part of it was ensuring that the form was totally accessible and also simple. Mm-hmm. And so they'd done some testing. I just recently redid an e-commerce site that was, again, an old site that had come to a frustration point. And so completely new build onto a new platform. And their sales were up about 20% out the door. And for e-commerce, that's important. You know,
yeah, for sure.
An easier, more accessible checkout, and probably more instantly apparent to the customer was their complaints just vanished. They used to be fielding a couple of calls or emails a day from customers just having difficulty. And now they have like maybe one a week.
Oh, wow. That's quite a difference.
That's a huge difference for them. They're like, yeah. And the fulfillment got streamlined a lot on the other end. So a lot of times you can tie this in. So if you have a new lead coming in and you're probably going to be doing a bit of work on the website anyway, you can tie it in with that. If you have an existing client who's got kind of a site that hasn't been done anything in like 5 years, it's frequently time for a refresh anyway.
Yeah.
So
accessibility is not a set it and forget it. It's something you need to tend to, like a garden, right? You need to keep going back and double checking. And every blog post, every page you publish requires more attention to make sure that you're staying at the level of accessibility that you should and want to be at. So this class that you have, I see that you've actually reduced the price to $87 for a 5-day class. That's pretty darn good. It starts next week. It starts on Monday.
It does. It starts on Monday.
And it's a live class. You're not selling somebody videos you've already created and it's hands off. What if somebody can't make those times? So it's like 1:00 Eastern. What if somebody's just not able to make those times work? Will you be doing this again? Is there another way for them to access this information?
Yes. So it will be a live Zoom call. And then after the Zoom call, everyone who's registered for the class will get the Zoom recording.
Okay. So if they can't make it a day or whatever, they still will get the recording and they can do the work.
Exactly.
Perfect. And you still have spaces left for next week?
I do. I still have some spots left.
Okay, good. because it wouldn't make sense to be telling everybody about it if you're like, but it's all filled up.
It is not yet full. No, we still have a few spots.
Nice. Now, you and I were on a different call this morning, and I see the tab open on your browser, where you were showing me some. You were showing me some of
You
what
want
you
this
built.
tab.
I want you to show us this because I was really intrigued by this morning when you showed us how you're going to use this and to train people, and how it actually is so quick and easy to give yourself an idea of what level of remediation, let's say, you need to do to make your site more accessible. So can you walk us through this really cool thing that you built?
Yes. So I love spreadsheets. Let's just be honest. I have a personal attachment to them.
I mean, don't most developers like things that are nice and neat and organized like that? So I think
A lot of
you're barking up the right alley here, I think.
So I will try and keep my mouse relatively still. It's a little tricky because I use a pen, a little pointing device on a 16-inch wide Wacom tablet as my mouse because I have some hand issues. So yes.
Nice.
But that means that I actually have extremely precise mousing because of this, and it can also just be really easy to bounce my mouse around a lot.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because it's a pen. It's a pen. I can just wiggle it.
I love that, actually. And I want details about that later because it's not easy to use your mouse for something. So anyway, so you have obviously your website because you are you meets all the criteria, right? Because you work on that and you make sure it is that way. But let's pretend that a site isn't. Let's not use any of my sites because I don't want to feel bad at the end of the day. But let's just call it like ABC site and make some stuff up about it.
We'll just you know what? You live in New York, so you probably have an Easy Pass.
I do.
So we can beat up the New York Easy Pass site.
Okay, I like that. Because
I routinely beat up the New York Easy Pass site because it's so bad.
It really is. And I just want to, to caveat that with, I am absolutely willing to do the work on my own sites. I just don't want to go down that rabbit hole on this live stream and feel terrible about myself at the end of an hour. So, so please continue.
So we're going to use the New York Easy Pass site because they absolutely fall under the ADA Title II legislation. And this website, it's not even mobile responsive. No, this thing's terrible. A train wreck. You've probably visited it and been like,
I have an account there. So yes, I have on more than one occasion.
So we start with the lightning audit. And I also have videos. If you search the top of my site, I've got a cute little search and you can search for the lightning audit on here.
Nice.
So the first thing is we're going to look for an accessibility statement. Now, normally I just do a, Command F and look for the word accessibility because that's the fastest way to do it. I can assure you it's not here.
They have a phishing policy and a privacy policy, but they have nothing about accessibility.
Correct. So we'll just drop in that this is the Easy Pass website. And so the first thing is going to be that's a no. Then we're going to check for a skip to content link. This is one of the easy checks. So you just click up here at the top and put your cursor here. And then all you do is just hit the tab key. And the very first thing I have arrived at is the home button.
Not content.
So that is not a skip to content link. So we are going to say no because there was no skip to content found.
Correct.
Is it free from autoplay and continuous animation? That one is actually a yes. I mean,
yeah. Probably only because they didn't know how to do it.
Quite likely. So the next thing is we're going to check for focus state. And so the browser by default has a blue and white focus state. And it looks like they haven't actually modified that. So, wow, that roads and travel is actually a link.
I would not have even noticed it had it not been, showing up the way it is now, because the contrast on that is absolutely abysmal.
Yes. So, but here, when we get to these buttons, we somehow have lost the blue and white border. So it's not really doing great on the contrast.
Yeah.
So
and then it skips all the content to the bottom.
Oh no, it doesn't. Then we go to the bottom. Then we're going to come up to this row of these 3 images here at the bottom. So we went down, and then we went up, and then we go down to the very footer. And
so
now
it's actually trying to mimic what it's like to drive. It's mimicking what it's like to drive in New York State. You're all over the place without getting anything done.
Now we're in the header where it's got the App Store links.
Yeah, holy cow.
Now we're going to pop to this Queens and Bronx resident plan eligibility.
Oh, it's terrible.
And now we're so this really goes in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a no on the good focus state, because in some places it was, but not all of the places.
Correct. Yeah.
So does the main menu work with the keyboard? So as far as I can tell, the main menu did actually work with the keyboard.
And that's hitting the tab key?
Yes. We were able to visit everything in the main menu. Not in the right order, but we got there.
But they were there, yes.
Yes. Is the color contrast good? So
no.
as we noticed, there are several color contrast issues.
Let's just talk about red on yellow for one.
We have the red on yellow. We have the
gray on white.
Light gray on white. We have white on pink.
Yeah. There's
a few issues.
It's a nightmare, yeah. I'm actually starting to feel better about my sites, because they're not 100%, but they're way better than this.
It's better than New York Easy Pass.
Yes.
Then the next one is, are the links and buttons clear? So as we noticed, this purple text for new vehicle is not a link, and the click here to update is a link. So
and they're both purple, yes.
They look identical, which means that no, links and buttons are not obvious.
Yeah.
So we did all of that. And so now all we do is we just count up our yeses. We have 2.
2. Okay.
And so
that's not good.
It automatically will give us a little bit of coloring. I did, because I care about colorblind people, I did use blue for a good score, because the most common colorblind is red-green.
Red-green, yeah.
Now, in this case, red and green are allowed because it is a secondary indicator.
Right. So yes and the no is the primary indicator, yeah.
Correct. So it's okay to use red and green when it's a secondary indicator. But I just went ahead and colored this blue anyway. And then it'll go yellow, and then orange, and then red. So this has actually hit an orange. It's got a score of 2. It means that it's a serious question. Do you completely rebuild, or do you remediate?
Right.
Now, we've looked at this site. It would be a complete rebuild.
Oh, yes. I mean, and I realize I'm looking at it through a small window in a window kind of thing, but even the font is small and difficult to read. It looks very dark, but it's so close to itself that it's still, like, I like a dark font, but not when it's all on top of itself like that. Like, I'm looking at the word account holders, and all the letters touch in the word holders. Like, yeah, it's very difficult to read through.
Yes. It's a very challenging website.
Yeah, for sure.
So then we can take the same site, and we can come here, put an easy pass, and again, we are going to evaluate it for everything. Is this website for the public? Well, yes. Do they receive revenue from the government?
Yes.
Yes, it's a division of New York State.
Mm-hmm.
Are they healthcare? No.
No.
Are they e-commerce?
Yes.
You have gone in and paid your bill.
I have.
Do they get more than 10 million in revenue? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And was their lightning score a 3 or lower?
Yes,
Absolutely.
it was. Yeah.
So this gives us a nice red 5.
It does. Yeah.
Saying that, yeah, this did not go well.
No, it did not.
And so those two indicators will see that the lightning score was quite poor, and we have a high risk.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a website that urgently needs to be completely overhauled.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so that's
it's probably not a WordPress website either.
Oh no, this is a custom. I've run the inspector. It's a completely custom thing.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pathetic for sure. So these are the kinds of tools. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It is a study in what not to do. I have used the New York Easy Pass site on many a presentation.
Oh yes, and I have tried to pay my bill on mobile, and let me just tell you how difficult that is.
You can't.
It's miserable. You have to get on a laptop or a desktop to do it. So the tools that you're showing us now is part of what you're going to do in your challenge next week, then.
Exactly. Yes. So you're going to take your existing clients and you're going to start scoring them so that you know what is going on with your existing clients. And the best way to learn is by doing. And the best way to learn more is by repeating it several times. That's, repetition is how we create habits. And then the habit is how we actually, get things done quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So by doing this several times, you'll A, have scored your current clients so that you know how they're doing. And B, you'll have actually learned the process.
Right.
I'm a very hands-on learner.
Yeah.
So
we do have one comment from Davidin, I think. I hope I'm saying your name right. A WordPress website would at least be mobile responsive, as opposed to this whatever conglomeration of errors the EasyPass site is. 100% agree with you there.
Yes.
Nice.
But yeah, so the very first day is about scoring and profiling and figuring out how things are doing, how things are, because then this is what you're also then going to use when you take in new clients. And so when someone approaches you, you'll have this system down. For solopreneurs, you'll be scoring it yourself. For larger, you'll have a VA or someone who is who can just run this scorecard for you.
Exactly.
So that you're all teed up and ready to go.
Nice. Very good. That's awesome. So after somebody's gone through the 5-day challenge, they've learned how to help their customers understand accessibility and sell that to them. You have other services as well, don't you, that they can sign up for that will help? Can you show us that?
Yes. So the main thing that I have is the agency accessibility system. And that is some tools. And then it is also a regular twice a month Zoom calls. So you can drop in and ask literally any random question you want about accessibility. If you want me, you can hop in, and we've live gone through how to use Apple VoiceOver on the computer. We've gone through it. We've gone through settings. We've gone through what's the most common settings, how to do the basic stuff, where to get the links to download. The company Deque, they have a list of shortcut keys for all of the screen readers.
Oh wow!
And they have it in a cute little printable document. So you can literally print out your screen reader guide and have it next to you for all of us who, don't actually live with a screen reader. We need our handy little cheat sheet sometimes.
I think an interesting exercise to do, and I've done this once, and I was mortified by how little was to put a screen reader in your browser and let you close your eyes and let it read your website to you. And you'll be, first of all, you'll be astonished at what somebody who is blind or has low vision or can't look at their screen for whatever reason or processing it listens to, and how it reads it to you, because it's so different than taking in visual information.
Yes.
And then if your site hasn't been built for accessibility, you'll be mortified by what you hear.
I would be terrified what the EasyPass site would sound like.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? But like even a site that I worked on before that had ornamental images and didn't have alt text, and the image name was like file 1275 dot whatever it was, right? That JPEG. And the screen reader reads that unless you tell it not to, or you put a description in so that it understands. That's horrifying to listen to because it's such information you don't need to process. And I know I've listened to some people listen to their screen readers who use that and rely on it, and it's going so quickly that I can't process anything that it's reading to them. And so it's like it really kind of brings home how important accessibility is, especially for people who are using screen readers, but clearly for everybody.
One section I have on my site is the Learn library. And in here is I did a audit on the WordPress forms. So the most popular WordPress forms. So I went ahead and did so it's got slides, transcript, summary of the presentation, the YouTube video. And we also have a bunch of the links that were presented in here, which have a mountain of data if you just go through these. But one of them is the YouTube recording of a screen reader actually going through it. And I also have the whole YouTube recording right here. But I went through with Kevin Andrews, who is a blind screen reader user. He lives in DC. And I had him using JAWS, which is his preferred screen reader. And we went through, I built out basically just a bunch of default WordPress forms. And you get to experience the forms as he does. And so many people said that was just so illuminating to them. They were like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I just created a train wreck.
Yeah, exactly. Or something completely unusable, right? And that is not what we want on our websites. We want our forms to be usable. We want people to be able to purchase things through our e-commerce. And if we're not paying attention to accessibility, we're denying a huge percent of our potential audience the ability to interact and make a purchase. So yeah.
And I remember one of the forms, every single on a certain form field, literally every single time you entered a character, it read the whole thing out. So literally it read out that whole field. So the title, so the label for the field and everything you'd written so far on every single
character
you press. Yes.
So if it said like name and I typed in M, it would say name M. And I would type an I, name I, like the whole thing, or name MI. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine how frustrating that would be? Like, type fast.
Well, you get to witness how frustrating it is.
Yeah, for sure. And, absolutely.
Another one, it started reading out errors for other fields that you weren't even on while you were trying to enter data on a field.
Wow.
So it was literally reading out errors for other fields, and you're like, I got no idea.
Yeah. We've got a nice comment here that they'll check the forms test recording after the stream, which is awesome. I'm gonna too, because like this is like I want to hear it. I want to hear this. I trust you, obviously, but it's like you got to hear it for yourself to see what a train wreck it was, right?
Oh yes. Yeah, we can kind of, we've got some things here in. So yeah, for example, one, it didn't have any context for the radio buttons.
Okay,
So
it just said combo
we
box.
just got combo box, radio button checked, pineapple button checked, select bananas, combo box.
What does any of that mean? Who knows?
Well, it
Who
wasn't
knows?
reading out any of the labels for the form
Right.
groups. So
Mhm.
you're like,
Yeah, for sure. And we only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that people understand what they can do, how they can use your assets.
yeah.
So first, I want to put up, if you're interested in the 5-day challenge, you're going to go to easyallyguide.com/product/selling-challenge. But if you go to easyallyguide.com, all of the things are there. Right at the top banner is join the 5-day challenge. So you can find that very easily. And then also, if you go to services, was it services that had
agencies,
thank you, that had that, all of the different things like the accessibility system and accelerator that are there, that you can do more. And if people are interested in learning more, there's a contact form that I'm sure you could tab over to very easily.
Yes. Yes, I can, in fact, use my own website.
I had a feeling it would be that simple for you. But you can hit up that contact. You can also schedule a 15-minute intro call, as I'm seeing there.
Yep.
I love that your CAPTCHA is actually through Cloudflare, so nobody has to try to tell you which boxes have different images in them, because several people can't see the images in those things. And so, yeah, it's important. So if you want to schedule an intro call with Jen, you can go to her contact page. If you want to fill out an inquiry form and send her some information, ask her a question, you can do that through there as well. And $87, it would be worth it, even if you can't make every single day, because you will get the recordings, to be able to go and sign up for the 5-day challenge next week.
Yeah, and
will you do that 5-day challenge again in the future? Is this something you plan to bring back again?
I right now have it tentatively planned for next happening in June.
Okay, so that would be awesome. So if you're on vacation next week and this is something you really want to do, then it will come back again in just a couple of months. But why wait if you don't need to? There's still a few seats left for next week.
When you think about a lot of things, there's a little bit of time normally required. So you need to kind of get your plan together, send out your things. Sometimes it can take a couple of weeks to get the phone call scheduled, and then to get the contract together and the contract back. And now it's May when it's actually signed to start a project in June. If we get going now.
Right. It is a 5-day challenge, but it's an hour a day. So if you can afford an hour a day to move this forward, you can start making more money with your customers, because you're able to sell them on the accessibility for their website, which I think is phenomenal. Any last words? That sounds wrong. Last words makes it sound so final. Any final thoughts? How's that? Any final thoughts today, Jen, before I let you go and I head to dinner?
Well, just that it doesn't have to be scary. That's kind of the big thing that so many people have said, is that it's very large, intimidating, and scary, and it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Like there's those of us out there who can really help you get through all of this. We've gone through the really deep, complex documentation, and we can now help you understand how this works.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with different people, and they're like, okay, I've made some progress. Now can you check it again? Yep. The other thing I have, in addition to the agency accessibility system, I also have an accelerator, which is basically a whole lot of extra access to me. And I literally have, and also I work with developers on a developer program, and you can reach out to me via the contact form. But yes, I worked with Calvin Alkin on his plugin. And yes, it was a lot of just back and forth. Okay, I got this new section. Okay, test it. okay, what markup do we need to change? What do we need to do for the different ARIA settings? Because his thing had quite a few ARIA needs. So
Gotcha.
we just went through a lot of different things, and just it was that back and forth feedback that made the progress so much faster.
Absolutely. Perfect. So so check it out. Easy Ally Guide. The L's are ones. So if you're thinking about it, easyallyguide.com. Find the challenge for next week. If you've already mastered that, sign up for the accessibility system. And might I add, if you go to wpaccessibility.day, you will also find a lot of talks from the past, and you can take a look at what's coming up this October for WP Accessibility Day, where you can just gain a lot of insight on as to why it's important also. And it's just a really good resource. I happen to be on the organizing team, so I want to share that as well, as long as we're talking about accessibility. So I want to also quickly, before I sign off here, next week, Cami McNamara will be here talking about web designer habits, something she sends out a newsletter every week with some great habits to build your business if you are a web designer. And Mark Andrew says, thank you, Jen, this is awesome. Definitely interested in the forums recording as well. So thank you for being here, people who are watching. Jen, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And I can't wait to hear how your challenge goes next week. So you'll have to keep me posted on how that goes for you.
I definitely will.
Thank you so much. And we'll see everybody next week to talk to Cami. And so enjoy your evening, and we'll talk to y'all later.